In my 12 years as an artist, this is a mistake that I've been making over and over again, and I think it's a mistake that I'm currently making. And I see a lot of my students make the exact same mistake. This mistake is consuming way too much content about how to make art without actually making anything. A lot of artists consume all this content, all this knowledge from different artists, which is useful. I do obviously believe in education. That is what I'm here doing, right? I wouldn't be talking to you guys unless I believed in it. But if you consume too much of it while not making enough art yourself, you lose touch with the things that you actually believe in. A lot of different artists have different opinions depending on where they come from. For example, if you are a hobby artist, listening to industry artists give you advice could be a bad idea because their advice is targeted towards people who want to do things professionally. So they care more about how to make money than actually how to be creative and have fun with it. That is one example. So if you're constantly consuming all this industry artist content while you're a hobbyist, you might start to feel bad about your art practice because it doesn't look like the industry artist pathway. If you are a beginner artist, you might want to focus a little bit more on the joy of drawing, having fun with it. But if you're always consuming all this content and not looking at it critically, it can be very easy to lose touch with the things that you actually enjoy, the things that you actually believe in. This is why I recommend that all my students sit down and start writing out what they believe about their art practice. In my inner artist course, I go through this. I tell my students, ask yourself these questions. What are you inspired by? What is it that you actually want to make? Realistically ask yourself, like, how much time do you have to draw? If you only have a couple of hours to draw per month, which is completely fine, do not judge yourself for that. If you have let's say 34 hours a month to draw, then do not expect yourself to become someone who can draw perfect anatomy. Setting yourself that expectation can really rob you of all the joy of drawing, because then you're setting your bar so high and where you're at is so much far away that can become a very painful experience. Set the bar a little bit lower and just try to enjoy the practice, lean into things that you love and enjoy. That way it becomes more sustainable. This idea that everyone needs to become great at drawing, this idea that everyone needs to aim to become great, I think is extremely toxic. I think it's something that's made drawing a lot less fun for a lot of artists. And there's so many artists, especially beginner artists, who fall into a trap of believing that they need to become great at some point. And that makes it so hard to enjoy the practice here and now, which means that they're never going to get there. If you fall out of love with drawing permanently and you never get back in touch with it, you're just not going to get good. And you also don't have to get good. Taking the pressure off of that, taking the idea of getting great off the table can sometimes make it easier for you to fall in love with the practice again. So if you are a beginner artist who's been consuming a lot of content about drawing, but you don't draw a lot, ask yourself the question of how can you enjoy the practice more? What expectations have you been putting on yourself that don't align with who you are? What do you actually care about? What do you actually want to make? Ask yourself these questions very critically. Lean into the things that you enjoy. For example, one thing that I've struggled with is drawing cute characters. I love drawing cute characters, but at the same time, I judge myself sometimes for it. Sometimes it feels shallow, sometimes it feels empty. And I know that self-rejection isn't realistic. It just comes from this expectation that I've taken on from consuming all this content. I've consumed so many videos by other artists where they talk about becoming great at anatomy, or you have to perfect the fundamentals. You have to learn how to draw perfect forms, and then you have to learn how to shade, you have to learn how to do perfect color and composition. This is a storytelling. All of these expectations that I've consumed over time don't align with who I actually am. And sometimes I judge myself for just wanting to draw these cute friend characters, like these characters that you're looking at right now. These are just cute characters that are fun to draw. And then I want to draw a bunch of patterning. And there aren't a lot of teachers that are telling me to do that. So sometimes I forget, I lose touch with that aspect of my creativity. So I had to sit down and write it out myself. I had to take on the responsibility and decide that this is what I care about. So when teachers talk about other things, I'm going to decide to ignore it because it doesn't align with who I am. So if you are a beginner artist who's consuming a lot of content from other artists, be very mindful of what actually matters to you. Pay attention, have a critical eye, have a critical ear for what they're telling you. Remember that not all advice is for everyone. Even my videos, be very critical of my videos. When I tell you to lean into the joy of drawing, if you're someone who doesn't align with the idea of having fun with drawing, then this isn't for you. And I can't make videos that, are perfectly targeted towards everyone. I pass on my philosophy because it's something that I believe in. I believe that most hobbyist artists who are beginners should just learn to have fun. I don't think becoming great at drawing is that important. Improving at drawing feels good. I do recommend that you do some exercises. But if it's not fun for you, if those exercises rob you of the joy of drawing, then don't do it. So that is the biggest mistake that a lot of beginner artists make. If you are interested in learning more from me, check out the Absolutely Everything bundle that will be linked below, and also the free 54 drawing exercises that are linked below. But as always, watch the 54 free drawing exercises, Look at the different exercises, decide which ones are fun for you, or how can you maybe adjust some of those drawing exercises so they're more fun for you, and then do those. You don't need to blindly take out all the drawing exercises. Do some, see which ones are fun, play around, have fun with it. Do not lose touch with your love of drawing just because someone gets a lot of views online, just because someone has industry experience, just because someone makes a lot of money off their art. That doesn't mean that you should follow them blindly. Always stay in touch with why you love drawing, because it's ultimately the only thing that matters.